Good evening, everyone, and welcome once again to your home of Monday Night Lights Skippy action on the Top Split YouTube channel. We are here for round 11, live and exclusive, the penultimate round here from the new track, Belle Island, and we've got quite a field who's rocked up tonight. I'm your host, Alex McKellar, and joining me once again, the Golden Stick, Mr. Tim Awema. Tim, fascinating night of racing here ahead of us.
Yes, Alex, and it's good to be on a new track for tonight on the Monday Night Lights. And the Belle Isle Detroit Grand Prix track, what an exciting track to race on. Wall-to-wall action, as you'd like to see. Can't make a mistake here. There's no runoffs. There's no grass. A mistake will cost you by going into the wall. But it's also good, Alex. We've got a few new drivers tonight, names that I haven't seen in previous Monday Night Light races.
Yeah, there's a few out there. I tell you what, we've cracked it once again, folks. This is your top Skippy race of the week. Tonight we have a strength of field not far off 3,700, if you can believe it, and we've outstripped the nearest strength of field by close to 700 points. So the strength of field, for those of you watching at home that don't know, is it's roughly the average or thereabouts skill rating of all the drivers in this field. And what happens on a regular official races, a bunch of people sign up for these races and they break them into fields of roughly equal size. The maximum field size for a Skippy is 20. We have 16 here tonight, and I think we ended up with 3 splits. Basically, they take them top to tail in terms of that skill rating. So what we have tonight is the best of the bunch as far as Skippy racing goes on the iRacing service, and what you'll see tonight is plenty of fantastic action as a result, Tim.
Yeah, exactly right, Alex. And look, with this strength of field, some of our big name drivers that normally appear in the top split, unfortunately, have not made it tonight. And we welcome some new drivers tonight. It's good to see our regulars though. We have our Bill Fraser, who's normally here, Enzo. We've got Andrew Welter, who's joining us again for the Monday nights. Hock on Grebstad. But we start to bring in some new drivers that I haven't seen before. Thomas Preening, James McRitchie, Juan de Marcius Torres. I'm really sorry for that pronunciation, but it's good to see. And also Dave Cameron from the UK and Ireland Club, Alex.
Yeah, I was talking to Dave before the broadcast. Actually, he's streaming over on Twitch live tonight. If you want to check him out to get a cockpit view while you're joining us, you can have him on a separate screen. He's over at Dave Cameron on Twitch, and he seems like a good fella. And he was surprised to find out this well-kept secret that is Monday Night Lights, and he'll be joining us hopefully more often now as we hop on board with him. If I can grab a good angle there. The cameras once again tonight provided by your teammate in Venom Racing there, Les Peck, Tim. So thanks to Les once again for putting this camera pack together on this new track for us, and we're much appreciated of it, aren't we, Tim?
Yeah, exactly right, Alex. And in these new tracks where cameras are important, especially in the broadcast, you want to get the action-packed views of those cars as they're going around the track tonight. And it's good to see, look, I'm on board with Enzo at the moment, who's, it looks like he's just crashed out. So now I'm on board with Andrew Welter, who's going around, who's actually currently set a 143.064, who has provisional pole at the moment and is looking to really set some blistering times and hold out Bill Fraser. But look, we've got the top 6 drivers tonight, Alex, all setting a 143. So this is going to be for a quick race.
Yeah, absolutely. The quickest times I've seen around this joint during the week have been in the 42s, but in the conditions, we've got a track temp of about 28. It's certainly, oh, there we go. Andrew Welter's just cracked it for a 42 as we speak. 42.9. That's an outstanding time around here. You won't see many better. Andrew's well known to the Monday Night Lights series. He used to be quite a regular. He's been off doing other things, but it's great to see him back. And of course, you won't mistake who's driving his car, judging by the livery, which is something we've come to expect from him. So the guys just rounding out their quali laps now. A few of them crossing line. Kevin Henderson putting on a show for the fans as he finishes his lap all the way down in 9th. Interesting. Kevin's no slouch, and and it'll be interesting to see how he transitions through this field. He's usually a bit further up the order, so Ben Snell now, he's just crossed the line and he's jumped up to P3. Great to see Ben right up near the pointy end. Bill Fraser, our current series leader, he's jumped up and pipped Andrew Welter there with a 1:42.945, just a fraction in front of Ben, in front of Andrew, sorry, just at .052. It can't get much tighter than that, Tim.
No, exactly right. And it's good to see. Look, these times tonight are extremely fast. It's going to be close action racing. But as I've said previously, there's not much runoff. So you really can't take a wide line here. You really can't push the guys out wide. The walls will play a part in this race tonight. It's either a 0x for the whole time round or you're out. So it should be very interesting as we get to these final times now with Håkon Grebstad just pipping into 4th position. Looks like we're rounding him out, Alex.
Yeah, he's just crossing the line now. He's sitting in 4th at the moment. Has he been able to improve his time? The answer is yes. He's up to P3, just a single tenth off some of the best drivers in the world. Håkon showing he's no slouch around here either. Thomas Preening, he's come out for a run tonight. I think he might be associated with Christopher Zoekling, who, of course, won last week's event after his maiden appearance. But interesting to see how those guys go. But certainly, obviously, know how to steer because both of them making this top split. And as you say, some of our regulars missed out entirely, which was a little surprising. And well, given the strength of field, perhaps not so surprising. So I'm expecting to see a fantastic race here tonight as we close out our qualification with just the 10 seconds remaining. Thomas Preening now, has he set a time? No, look, he must have won next his laps, or maybe he joined the server late, because that's it, folks. That's all she wrote. So while the guys are thinking about taking the grid, why don't we run through our grid? All right, the starting grid tonight for round 11, coming to you from Belle Island, otherwise known as the Detroit Grand Prix circuit. Bill Fraser, current series leader, sitting in P1. P2, Andrew Welter, great to see him back, as we said, just 5/100ths off the pace there. Håkon Grebstad, fantastic quali for him after a poor run in qualification in recent weeks in P3. Ben Snell, another local boy, great to see him up the front of the field in P4. P5, James McGritchie for the UK and Ireland club, perhaps getting ready for their big Monday night race coming up. In P5, P6, Russell Clark from Team Milo. Great quality there from Russell. Good to see him up near the pointy end. Anthony Catt returning for another tilt in the Monday Night Lights in P7. Enzo Cantor, series regular and often further up the front of the grid, it must be said, all the way down in P8. Wonder what he's going to do tonight for Team Ivano. Jaume Dalmasis Torres, sorry Jaume, from Iberia P9, I'll try and get that right during the night. P10, Dave Cameron, as we mentioned, streaming live tonight on Twitch. P11, Kevin Henderson, hoping to push his way through the field. P12, Christopher Zoekling, last week's winner, all the way down in P12. 13, Brad Park and another Team Venom racer. 14, Andreas Furi, whose name I might get right eventually in P14. 15th tonight's Thomas Preening, who failed to set a time, as did Simon Dopp, the last of the Team Venom racers in the field. If we can quickly, before the lights come on, what does the track look like tonight? We've got round 11, as I said, 14 turns, 14 laps, just over the 50k mark as we've seen in previous weeks. Track temp 40 degrees. That doesn't sound right to me. I think it's actually about 28, and iRacing might be lying to us. So, Tim, we're getting ready for the start of round 11 here. I wonder if Les has given us a good camera angle for the start. That's probably not the one I want. No, looks like we're starting from the rear here, folks. Lights are getting ready to come on. Just hop on board. There we go. Bill Fraser. That's where we want it to be. Good work, Les. Green light, and they're away on this short run down into a couple of the fastest corners on the track here. It's turns 1 and 2. Bill Fraser just letting him out, and quite a sedate start, with the exception of Russell Clark side by side just in the rear there, and they've all seemed to have made their way through without clipping those ever-present walls, Tim, on the run down to Central Avenue, down Central Avenue into on the approach to turn 3. Probably one of your better passing opportunities on this track, Tim.
Yeah, exactly right. And as they come down into turn 3, they're nice and clean. Looks like for the first 4 positions that I'm watching at the moment, Andrew Welter just sitting behind Bill Fraser with Hockon in third. And it looks like as they go along and go through this nice tight section leading onto the back straight of what is, and I've just got to get my namings right, I think it is Strand Drive. They will actually, looks like Andrew is really just going to hang in here and try and hang on to Bill Fraser in the draft and not try any crazy manoeuvres and hopefully split away from the pack behind them, Alex.
Yeah, well, this front group of 5 cars I heard a bit of contact there in the rear, and looks like Russell Clark, he's dropping back a little bit. Oh, pokes his way in there. No, beg your pardon there with Anthony Catt. Russell says, I'm coming in, thank you very much. That's my spot. He's got back up. I don't know if that was him with contact. He's looking a bit loose in the rear there, so to speak, and it looks like, yeah, he might be having a bit of strife there, but hopefully he'll shake that off and continue racing. I was going to say Enzo Cantor leading the charge from this second group now. There's a bit of a gap coming to the guys in front, and Russell Clark still continuing to drop down the order as they go 2 by 2, still behind it towards the tail end of this field now, on the tail end of lap 1 as they start lap 2. Meanwhile, back up the front, going through those sweeping 1 and 2 combination there, down Central Avenue once again on the approach to turn 3. This top 5 really looking to get away, see if they can keep away from these guys behind as Enzo and Torres there goes 2 by 2. Enzo taking the defensive line into turn 3. Number 1 rated driver, car number 1 squeezes, takes a lovely line through there, carries a lot of speed considering, and really shut the door on Enzo. Great drive there from both guys to keep it off the walls and off each other as now we see, I think we've got Thomas Preening in the pits. I might just go grab a quick look at that and see what I can see. What happened to Thomas there? No, he's still there. We'll jump back a bit further. Oh, he's carried a ton of speed into that corner. He's actually hit Kevin Henderson on the way through. Might see if I can grab a bit of a slow-mo and see what... Oh, he looks a bit loose already as he's coming down the straight. Look, he might have had a bingle already. He might have been that injury that I heard earlier in the corner, in the piece, and he's just... As we grab on board, he's really just not pulled that up and look, almost turned into Kevin there. I don't know if that was something more to that story or not, but as it stands, the two of them really look to have had the end of their night, and we might just jump up to the action back up front. Bill Fraser heading this field now with a few less participants, Tim.
Yeah, exactly right. And from what I'm hearing from our viewers tonight, Alex, is that Mr. Preening, Thomas Preening, he'd only just purchased the track, so that's a bit hard to jump in a jump into the car tonight where you have only got walls to contend with and try and race this track with such a high strength of field. It's a very risky way to start your campaign on the Monday Night Lights. But as you said, as we get back up there with Bill Fraser and Andrew Welter, it looks like Andrew's playing a very strategic game, and I really like his driving style tonight. He's just staying with Bill, not trying to make any moves, let Bill dictate the speed and the race here. And by him hanging on along with Hockon, they're really just making sure that they can build a bigger gap behind the drivers behind them and then potentially make his move towards the end of the race, Alex.
Yeah, 100%. A lot of strategy here. These guys, new track, new strategies to work out, and there's no margin for error, as you mentioned earlier, as we see Hawkon now pulling out of the draft almost. Maybe he's worried about engine temps. I know I did a race here last night for the Australasian Super Skips and got the engine temperature warning early on, which surprised me, I have to say. But Hawkon may be thinking long-term here. It's a 14-lap race, of course, here. Just a sprint in some terms, but plenty of action to be had as these three almost getting away. They've got a gap now of about 6.5 tenths. And James McRitchie now, who's on the car 5 or car 11, fifth car in the train, he's been dropped. He's about 1.3 seconds now behind that lead pack and dropping further. We're all the time with Torres, the car number 1 plated driver, and Enzo Cantor right behind him, looking to bridge that gap and perhaps use James McRitchie as a stepping stone and towards getting to that front pack there, Tim. Oh, Enzo, look at him. He's really letting the rear of the car slide out through turn 1 and 2, looking to perhaps try and get a little bit more drive through the next time, Tim.
Yeah, exactly. And as we see, it looks like the front four of the pack at the moment. It's good to see Ben Snell hanging in there tonight. He's always been a little bit unfortunate in our previous races, but it's good to see him really hanging on to Hock on here. And this is where it's important to just drive really well. Make sure you get each apex and really hang on to this top pack because anything is possible as we lead into the later stages of this race. But just behind them, as you said, it looks like to be James McRitchie and JD Torres just hanging on in that second battle pack, Alex.
Yeah, it looks like that little adventure through turns 1 and 2 has really cost Enzo Cantor. Christopher Zoekling now going past him in the TBR livery. Side by side, they go through this very tight section of the track into this first or second gear, depending on how you take it. The left-hander there, great move there by Zoekling. And looks like Enzo, I don't know if he's picked up any damage, but he's looking pretty loose in the rear of that car tonight. Might want to, oh, as he pokes the nose up underneath. Tell you what, there's a fair bit of risk reward in that. I tell you what, it could have ended both of their nights, but the guys continue on. Zoekling driving really well here tonight. James McRitchie now tucked in behind Torres now as they try to bridge that gap. Torres, of course, he has leapfrogged McRitchie as we've suggested, and looking to chase down these guys. Torres' best time here so far tonight of 42.5, which is right up there with the leaders. Bill Fraser's best lap of 42.6 out in front. Not much to claw back there by way of difference in those times, but he's making every post a winner there and doing what he can to get back on with the leaders. He's now 2.6 seconds behind, and with the balance of, we're on lap 5 now, and the balance of 10 remaining, could be the task right up ahead of him there, Tim.
Yeah, exactly right. And with Torres now up 4 positions from his start there, he's driving quite well. And I think he really needed to get past James McRitchie just to really get that speed back up and catch back onto Ben Snell. And I think if he can drive a very good race here and get back onto the back of Ben Snell, who looks to be just struggling to hang on to Hawk on, maybe battling, they'll have a battle pack going for 4th position.
Yeah,
And it
sorry,
looks
Tim. I'll
like
just cut you off there, mate. We've lost Enzo. He's coming into the tight left-hander at turn 5 by the looks. The rear of the car stepping out once again. I don't know if he was carrying damage already, but the rear just completely got away with him. Nose into the exit of the corner on the left-hand side. Got the brakes on just in time, so the other guys, who, as they're tracking out for that corner, have managed to get by. But a real shame for Enzo there, and perhaps needing a bit more track time tonight to really take advantage of the pace that we know he's got, Tim.
Yeah, exactly right. And as I said, it's not a forgiving track here tonight, Alex. There's one little mistake, and it is going to be a wall that you're going to find. There is a little amount of grass, and if you can find that grass, you're very, very lucky. But other than that, I can see that you'd end up in the wall, and that'll be your night. And so as we move back, we'll head back up to the front of the pack. I'm just getting back up to the front, where it looks like Andrew Welter, beautiful drive, as I said before. He's really just hanging with Bill Fraser, and I'm sure Bill's looking in his mirrors wondering when Andrew's going to make that move, and if it's going to be right at the end of the race, or is Andrew Welter's temperatures really going to start playing havoc soon? Because I'm not seeing him move out of the draft. He's constantly sticking right behind Bill Fraser every corner that we go through, Alex.
I think Hawkon's starting to get a little bit sketchy here, or a little bit impatient as we hop on board now. He's right up the tail there. I thought he might try and have a move here, but again, pulling out of the draft on the approach into this hairpin. He's doing really well. Turn 7 out the end of Strand Drive now, sweeping round to the tight left-hander. This is where we saw those moves made by Zoekling last lap. Hawkon now sweeping around turn 9 into 10, and then this awkward compromise there out of 10 and into 11. Careful not to ride too much of the ripper strip, because surprisingly, even the Skippy, the low-powered Skippy here, can get the rear loose on exit there. Bit of oversteer induced by wheel spin, and the guys now rounding out the tail end of lap 6, really just holding station here, it would seem, Tim, and biding their time, because you really, as much as you're fighting the other drivers on this circuit, you're racing the track at the same time.
Exactly right, Alex. I was very fortunate to race on this track early on in the season in a tin top, and I felt so. It's a lot more comfortable being able to take it a little bit wide, tap the wall, and know that you're quite safe. But in the skip barbers, a little tap on the wall will wreck that suspension in these little cars, and especially and also driving over the curbs. There's a few curbs you'll find that the guys will really take tight and ride the curbs. That will introduce some damage as we get further into this race. And will that play a part in this, or will it be minimal damage to the front wing and they should be fine?
Yeah, absolutely. There's some of the guys, no doubt, running a little bit lower SPO to ride those curbs a little bit. Couple that you can take, as you say. Turn 4 is a good example of curbs that you can ride really well, but there's some that you just wouldn't touch with a barge pole. So, might just jump back a bit further in our field. Joining us again tonight, as we mentioned, Dave Cameron. He's tucked in behind his fellow UK and I Club member in Anthony Catt, looking to go right in behind there to see if he can't make a move at the end of the Strand Drive into turn 7. No, tucks in behind now, sits in behind Anthony Catt, who tracks out nicely there, sets up the following bend at turn 8, this tight second gear it looks like for Dave Cameron through there, sweeping through 9 and 10 again, approaching once again, as I said, that awkward corner. We got a compromise 10 to approach 11. Get good drive out here. Nice work from Dave as he really looks to put pressure on his compatriot and Anthony Catt. It'd be interesting to see if those guys renew that acquaintance in the Monday night skippies, the UK and I style later on today, because you can find that on Race Spot. And these guys perhaps using this as a warm-up, as we said. So great to see them out there, and we thank them for joining us and supporting the race. Jumping back up to the front, we've got Andrew Welter there, tucked now right in behind. We might hop on board with him now, see what we can see there. Oh, side by side with Bill Fraser, making the move now, jumping back to full vision there. Hawkon also getting interested in this. Side by side, Fraser taking the defensive line into turn 3, forcing a slow run out there. Welter still side by side through this corner where you can ride the bubs, as we said. Hawkon looking to take advantage if he can. Can Welter go deep under brakes into 4? No, he cannot. Line astern they go once again. Snell showing all sorts of patience and a bit of loose in the rear himself there. He's biding his time. Second week in a row, seen Snell show a patient hand, looking to finish the race strongly. Plenty of points in here on offer. As we mentioned, strongest field of the week also means the biggest overall official championship points, and also over and above that, iRating and the Monday Night Lights Championship, of course, as well. So these guys putting on a great show. Welter right up the gearbox now of Fraser, and enjoying every minute, no doubt, Tim.
Yeah, exactly right. And I thought Ben Snell would have been smiling like a Cheshire cat. As those front three were fighting each other, he was just slowly gaining back on him. He would have been really excited. But it's good now. He's just sitting back in there at 4th position. He will maintain that gap? I'd say until the later stages of this race. We've still got a lot of 6 laps remaining, so he will hang on. But I'm sure Andrew Welter is now going to start putting the pressure onto Bill Fraser, and here we go. He's going to make the move into what we call the first. It would have been the first and second corner, and I believe he's only going to do this to really start pressuring Bill into a bit of a mistake, Alex.
Yeah, we might hop on board again. He's pulled out to the left, forcing Fraser to go defensive as we get a bit of net drop out there, so we might drop back a bit there. Look, really going with Fraser, deep under brakes, but unable to do it. Really compromised line there. Welter taking a beautiful drive there. Not getting the apex, of course, leaving room for Fraser, but getting the job done. Fantastic work. Balance of 6 laps remaining now on lap 9. Fantastic move from Welter. Great return to the series for him. Great to see Enzo in chat there. Enzo joining us with only a few moments practice, explaining that the walls here, of course, are deadly as we expected. So bad luck to Enzo. Great to see him out here once again. But the guys remaining out on track are certainly putting on a show worthy of a Monday Night Lights event, Tim.
Yeah, exactly right. And good drive by Andrew Welter at the moment. And as I said, I think it was that the pressure that he was putting on Bill Fraser, and Bill really going defensive along Central Avenue. He made a fantastic move. And now it's up to him to really start to set his pace. We know he's a very fast driver. We know Bill's very fast, so is Hawkon. It's just a matter of now, can Andrew really start to get a gap and just break off from Bill It seems like he's slowly doing, but I mean, Bill's going to hang in there with the draft because this is going to be a very drafty track as we go along, Alex. But I really, really hope for Andrew that he can just hang in there and keep that pressure off.
Yeah, look, we're just going to go back and see Torres, who was really trying to chase these guys down, coming through the last series of corners. In fact, the third gear sweeping left-hander carried a bit too much speed and just... No, it's the final corner, in fact. He's just... No, I was right the first time. It was the final quarter. He's just swept through, carried too much speed. Third gear there, you're pushing it as hard as you can. Fortunately for him, though, he's just taking the opportunity. Whoops, straight into the pits. Thank you. I'll grab that fast repair. Might even have time in this short pit lane to only lose a position or two, but and get back out there, Tim. Reduce his losses, but jumping back up to the front now. This action continues as they sweep around the first part of the track, or the approaching up the back straight now at Central Avenue. Oh, him! Did I just hear more damage in the background? James McRitchie, no, he's continuing on okay. Beg your pardon. If we jump up the front again now, up the back of this Strand Drive into turn 7 now, line astern. Oh, Hawkon really running wide. They're taking every bit of track that he can. Did we just lose Snell? Oh, I think he might have grabbed a bit of wall there, Tim, but he's continuing on, but he is almost a second behind and off the back of these guys.
Yeah, look, I think it looks like he might be right. He might have touched a little bit, but he's hanging on, but I just believe the top three are extremely fast. And Andrew Welter will set a blistering pace. And he's showing here his best time so far is a 1:42.6. Unsure if that was an undrafted or if that was when he was out the front. His last was only a 1:43.1, so while not setting as fast a time as I should say a 1:42.3 leading the pack. So that is a very, very fast time by Andrew Welter. So Ben really needs to be driving one of his best races to hang on to these the top three here tonight, Alex.
Yeah, sure does, and he's doing a great job. This front four really setting a cracking pace, all down in the mid to low 42s. Fraser setting his quickest lap, the previous lap for the race, as did Welter. So Welter, surprisingly, really setting the pace now that he's cleared Fraser. Tough track to get by, and didn't he do it well? It was a great overtaking manoeuvre around the outside of turn 3. Probably the move of the night so far, but... We do have a balance of 4 laps remaining now on lap 11 now. They're just going about the halfway mark. Fraser now pulling out, coming on down the back straight, down Strand Drive on the approach to turn 7. Comes up the inside. Hawkon grips that, poking his nose as well. Classic manoeuvre there in the threshold braking zone there. Really, Fraser just clipping the wall on the exit there as they go around turn 8 into turn 9 now, into that awkward turn 10 and 11. Combination there on the exit there. All of them using every single bit of the track and more by the looks of it, Tim.
Yeah, exactly. I think Bill just didn't want to play second fiddle. He's really wants that lead position. I think he can drive a very defensive role while he's sitting in that top position. So for Andrew, it's just keeping calm, knowing that you've got 3 laps remaining. Really work to it again. He knows where he can get the overtaking move in. He knows that it's either going to be on as we come down Central Avenue or down Strand Drive, and it's how he gets that drive out. And it looks like he's got a fantastic drive going onto Central Avenue, and he's going to take the inside line. This is going to be very interesting, Alex.
Fraser leaving the door open, swinging out to the right as the corner approaches, and Hawkon did the same. Fraser there getting it done around the outside, or at least defending around the outside. Really, Welter had every opportunity to go by there, but Fraser doing an outstanding job of holding that position under those circumstances, and Grebstad all the while poking his nose, having a good sniff around, trying to find a way past. Great drive from Hawkon to stick with these guys as we see Snell fading off into the background on the closing stages of this race. About 2.5 laps to go now as they drive up the Strand once again. Let's see, Welter pulling on the outside. Might hop on board with Hawkon, see what we can see there. No, I missed my opportunity as they come in now. Fraser once again staying in front there through that threshold braking zone again at the end of the Strand. Now coming through this looping or tight looping section. I don't know if that's a contradiction in terms. Through turns 9 and 10 now. Great shot there, Les, through turns 11, that tight right-hand corner as we hop on board now. towards the tail end of lap 12. Now just the two remaining as they cross the line this time round. Sweeping right-hand bend, third gear corner where we saw the incident previously. Fraser, look at that line there he's taking. So tight and defensive there. Sweeping run through here. A little bit jerky on that camera. We might grab another angle there. Through turns 1 and 2, probably the fastest corners on this track, and the ones you want to get most correct, because the pace you can carry on here really pays dividends at the end. Once again, Fraser moving to the outside, perhaps deciding either Welter's not close enough, or indeed it's the faster line around the outside there rather than defending. Hawkon closing right up and beyond. Fraser, he's run wide and into the wall, carried too much speed, leaving the door open for the local boy there to fight off his Norwegian competitor here to race finish there. We'll grab a look at that towards the end of the race. It looked like Fraser just carried too much speed there, Tim, and perhaps the new track catching him out.
Oh, yes, you could see that it was coming into the corner. I noticed that Andrew Welter started to brake a little bit early, and I thought, what's going on here? But Andrew had the right braking marker, and I think Bill just missed his braking marker too. Oh, I think he was just watching the mirrors. I think he was a bit worried. There was no reason to change anything that he'd been racing previously, because Andrew Welter just didn't have the gap there to be able to make a move. But this has just played into the hands of Andrew and Hawkon now. They're going to fight it out for these last 2 laps, Alex. This is an exciting race now, and what a shame we couldn't have a 3-way battle. But, you know, Bill Fraser's back in the pits, end of the night. He's going to put it back on the back of the trailer, drive it home, I think, Alex.
Yeah, real shame for Bill, just giving it. Oh, Hawkon collecting the curbing on the tail end of turn 12 now, rounds 13, and comes across the line for the penultimate time as the white. Oh, Hawkon! I just heard an engine blow, Tim. Was that Hawkon? All that time we were talking about him catching some air. Whoa! All that time we were talking about him catching some air, and the engine's gone. And what that means is Andrew Welter, who's sailing out in front, and Ben Snell, who has... Oh, it was the final lap. I beg your pardon. He won the race. I got all excited over nothing there. I thought it was the penultimate lap. But it was the final one, and he's blown it in excitement at coming over the line in P2. I'll tell you what. It's commentator's curse or something there. Professional stream or what, Tim?
No.
I got him at the final lap. Are we on the final lap? And has Hawkon gone off early? What am I missing here, Tim?
What's going on? Well, I think the race is not over, Alex.
Maybe Hawkon did blow it. What's he done?
I'm lost. It says last lap. JRT's telling me we're on the last lap.
I've got last lap and final lap and everything. Here we go.
What have we got going on here? I see Andrew Welter. He's spearing all over the track, but surely we haven't got the checkered flag yet. We're still racing. We're still going. And Andrew Welter, he's just out in front, doing it easy, 3 seconds, and he is coming through onto now what will be Strand Drive. Sorry, not Strand Drive. Yes, he is Strand Drive. It's the other portion of Strand Drive, the end going into turn 12, 13.
I'll tell you what, Hawkon, I don't know if he's thrown us a dummy or what, but all that time in the drafts either cost him that or he's gone off. He's thrown me a dummy, that's for sure. I thought he must have blown it in celebration at the end. It's such a great result, but all it's cost him is about 1,000 points in the championship and some IR into the boot. There we see a celebratory braking of the car. And, oh, the drift master himself, Ben Snell, crossing line in P2. What a patient performance for him it was. Ben, then followed by James McRitchie, who's spun out in celebration as well. Zoekling, last week's winner, crossing in P4. Dave Cameron, great inaugural or entry into the Monday Night Lights series. Car number 13, P number 5. Swagger points for him. 63 I rating coming his way and 154 championship points. Fantastic entry to him. Bit of luck going his way, have to be said, with some of those incidents towards the closing lap of the closing laps of the race. I tell you what, amazing. What a finish. Speaking of finishes, how about, oh yeah, there we go, Hawkon joining us in chat. He said the engine went, and it wasn't deliberate, I don't think, judging by the sad face that's just ended our chat. Let's check out the results here. Final results for round 11, coming to you from Detroit Grand Prix Circuit, aka Belle Island. Finishing tonight with a welcome return and a fantastic result on his return to Monday Night Lights, Andrew Welter sporting the lovely green namesake livery. Fantastic drive from Andrew. Had everything on display. Tactics, patience, excellent skill as well. Congratulations to Andrew. Ben Snell, very patient drive here tonight in P2. Congratulations to Ben. That's one of his better results for quite some time. James McCritchie joining us from UK&I, rounding out the podium position. Perhaps a little surprise for him after getting dropped by that pack early on. Hung on for a great result in P3. P4, Christopher Zoekling returning after his victory last night, fought his way through the field. Top field it was too. After not setting a qualification time, made it all the way up to P4. Well done. Dave Cameron, welcome to Monday Night Lights. Fantastic result with a top 5. Anthony Catt, his UK&I compatriot, he lost out to Dave tonight, but managed to hang on for P6. Torres there finishing in P7 after his quick duck into the pits after collecting the wall on the tail end of one of his laps. Russell Clark all the way up to P8, down to P8. He qualified in 6. Perhaps not happy with that result, although I think he picked up a bit of damage early, if I'm not mistaken. P9 to Simon Dopp, one of the Team Venom racers, riding behind the Team Milo driver. Team Venom again in P10 in Brad Park and representing quite well and rounding out the top 10. Oh, wrong. Let's move on to the next one. Kevin Henderson, after having that incident with preening early, or thrust upon him early on, all the way down in P11, which is ironically where he qualified too. Håkon Grebstad, he'll have a sad story to tell after blowing his engine with a shot at the win with a lap to go and throwing us all a dummy and certainly confusing me up here in the commentary box. All the way down in P12. Still get some Monday Night Lights points, but perhaps not what he was chasing. Bill Fraser, championship leader, once again failing to score points and retiring tonight, as did Enzo Cantor, who was gracious enough to join us on track after and support the event after not having the track much before the race itself. Andreas Furi, who is becoming an MNL regular, also retired, as did Thomas Preening after we saw that incident. Of course, the chat telling us tonight that he'd only bought the track moments before the race, perhaps similar to Enzo. And I tell you what, it shows how hard the track bites when some of the quality of those sorts of guys are binning it in the race, whereas normally they'd potentially be dominating. So, look, it's a favourite track, rapidly becoming a favourite track, but one probably because it bites so hard when it does, Tim.
Yeah, exactly right, Alex. I really do enjoy this track. But as you said, if you go near those walls, they're unforgiving, and that can really destroy your night. And Bill Fraser saw that tonight. I just think he missed his as he said in chat, it was an intense race with Andrew Welter, and I think it really played on him in those end laps where Andrew was always going to make a move, and I think Bill was just more focused on the driver behind him, and just too late on his braking marker and straight into the wall. So it was a little bit unfortunate, but fantastic result for Andrew Welter. As I said right at the start, he was driving really, really well. He was patient, and he was picking the right times to try and make a move. And I really think towards the end, would have been about lap 6, when he started to put the pressure on, I think that's when Bill started to get a little bit nervous.
Yeah, perhaps Fraser not having as much practice, although he did set a cracking time to get up the front to begin with. So hard to say what was going on under the visor there. But look, I was just trying to grab the start of the race, and again, a testament to this track. Normally I'd grab through the incidents to see what I can find to grab a replay or take us back to the start, as we've done here for the post-race interviews, and there were just so few incidents compared to what we normally see. Normally there's off-tracks aplenty, but here, of course, off-track equals death, so none to speak of, and quite an interesting reflection on the track overall. Now, we've got a couple of regulars in the green room. I'm going to bring them up in finishing order, as is our custom here, and I'm going to start with, of course, Mr. Ben Snell. Let's bring him up here. Mr. Snell, the drift master, crossing the line in P2. What a fantastic... I've described it plenty of times tonight, a fantastic patient race from your good self, mate. How did you find it out there on track?
I was just trying to not hit walls like I've done every other race I've done this week.
Yeah, I figured, mate. Well, you did a pretty good job of it. I thought I might have caught a glimpse of you nudging a wall at one point, but certainly my impression of your race tonight was that, as I said, very patient and calculating, and the result certainly came your way.
Oh, I would have been happy with fourth, to be honest. The guys in front of me definitely had my number for pace, but for once I was the guy that didn't hit a wall and someone else did. So I'll take that any day of the week.
Yeah, what was your vision of Hawkon blowing his engine? He threw me for six, mate. I thought he'd blown it at the end of the race. I got confused and all sorts of out of shape, much like yourself over the finish line, mate. But did you get a good view of that?
Oh yeah, plenty. I also went, please don't hit me because we're in the Discord together.
Yeah,
So I think he thought I was behind him and he moved across and almost killed me.
I caught a glimpse of that. I wondered for a moment, but good to see you got away with it anyway, mate. So, congratulations on what I think you've had a victory here in Monday Night Lives before, but not for some time. So, a fantastic podium for your good self, and congratulations on
No,
that.
no, just podiums. I was just talking me and Hawkon. Neither of us had a victory yet. So
Well,
we're racing to our first victory. Who can get it first?
oh, that's a bit of friendly competition, a race within a race, as it were. But both of you came pretty close. But yourself, good self out on top tonight, mate. So congratulations from that. And before we let you go, anyone you'd like to give a shout out to?
Just as usual, you guys for putting the broadcast on it. Obviously, it boosts the numbers. We have more guys from overseas than we have from Australia at the moment, so it's pretty crazy. But yeah, you guys and the guys that turn up and race.
Yeah, thanks, mate. You'll be pleased to know there's some good points in that for you tonight. That was the top split of the week by some margin. So congratulations again, mate. We look forward to your continued support next week.
Thank you very much, guys.
There you go, Tim. A happy camper there, and Mr. Snell shows what a cool head under those sort of conditions can do for you with a great result for him in the biggest race of the week.
Yeah, exactly right. Everything went his way in the end. Apart from getting first over the line in first, just staying in the fourth position, really just sitting off the back of that pack and driving a very consistent race. And there you go, you finished the line beautifully in second position. What a
Yeah,
great night for Ben.
100%, mate. I tell you, there's a lot to be said when you know the guys up ahead of you got your number. Just keeping your nose clean, hanging on to that draft, and waiting for the race to come to you. And that's exactly what happened to Ben tonight. Full marks, mate. So I'm going to bring up Mr. Grebstad, perhaps with his somewhat sadder tale. Hawkon Grebstad, mate.
Oh,
What? Tell us the sad story. I was just saying,
yeah.
I was saying a few times, you threw me, mate. I thought you'd blown the engine to celebrate a successful podium, but you caught me out a lap short, mate. What happened?
Oh, no, the car just went. It had enough. Too much draft, I suppose. Too
Yeah,
close to Andrew and for too long. I think is the cause of it.
yeah. I said a couple of times I noticed you on the back straight there, pulling out for gulps of air. I wondered if you'd had a bit of a warning about temperature early on, and then it finally came back to bite you. But that's a real shame, mate. An outstanding race. What was it like up the front there? We're on board with you in replay at the moment. It looked like a lot of fun.
It certainly was a lot of fun. It was a good tight race between Andrew and Belle, and I was just kind of trying to wait and see what was going to happen. And when Bill put it in the wall, I reckon now's my time, right? Final lap. See if I can't get by Andrew and get the win. And then coming out of the final corner, and the car just blows up. It is heartbreaking.
Yeah, mate, all that hard work, and you did, and similar to Ben, I think you drove a patient race, really applying pressure where it was appropriate without putting too much risk on what is a, pretty risky adventure around this track. So, mate, I felt for you as I heard the engine go when I actually finally realised that we were right in saying that it was a lap before the end and all that hard work was undone. So bad luck on that, mate, but hopefully we'll see you back bigger and better next week. And anyone who'd like to give a shout out to before we let you go?
Well, Andrew for the win, and Bill for the race. It was a great fun up front, and congrats to Andrew and Ben, and of course you guys for doing the broadcast as always.
Awesome. Thanks, Hawk-on, mate. Well, we look forward to you back on track next week and for the final round at Zandvoort, and hopefully things will go a bit more your way.
Hopefully the car will survive the race.
Yeah, good one, mate. All right, mate. We'll see you then.
See you then.
There you go, Tim. Mr. Grebstad, graceful or gracious in defeat. What would have been a tough night for him for sure, but it was what could have been for him, eh?
Well, exactly right. And I'd be having a word to Andrew Welter's mechanics to just see how they managed to stick behind a car the whole night and not manage to blow up. And poor Hockon, he was doing the right thing. He was pulling out of the draft where he could to try and get some fresh air, but it just wasn't enough tonight, Alex. And that be it, all be the Skippy. You really need to treat it with care. The walls here weren't the factor tonight. It was the draft and blowing the motors.
Sure was. I'm going to see if I can find the incident for Bill Fraser on lap 13. See if we can't pick up what happened to him as they came around the final stages, lap 12, I think. Yeah, this looks pretty familiar. Why don't we hop on board with young Bill, if I can actually find Bill, and see what happened. He's come sweeping through. Excuse me. I wonder if I've got a better view of that. Oh, yeah. Let's hop on that view. That looks good. He's running down here, and let's see if we can't pick up where he's braked, because as we saw, he ran quite deep. He had this, sussed. I think he'd been overtaken on the inside, and then he was not going to give the inside up again. Sorry, overtaken on the outside. Look, counter steering on the way in, carried too much speed, and just couldn't correct. Look, he's counter steering, trying to correct the rear end of the car desperately, but it's gone, and then just bang into the wall. And that was all she wrote. What a shame for Bill. He like I said, he'd taken the defensive line and been driven around the outside of, and then in trying to take the unorthodox defensive line, perhaps let it run a bit deep. I don't know if he had his eyes on his mirrors or what, but that's a real shame for Bill. I know what could have been for him. So look, that was about what she wrote here for that race, and pretty unfortunate for Bill, and ultimately the finish of the race, but fantastic for the returning Andrew Welter, of course, and for those who raced in and around him. But that might do us for tonight's action on track. Tim, what's going on in the world of the Golden Stick this week?
Oh, not quite sure this week, Alex. I haven't looked at the schedule. I will endeavour to race tomorrow night. I really want to try and get a race in this week, and I've been missing out on doing some races, and where I've raced I haven't streamed, so I will put in a stream tomorrow night, guaranteed. Everyone can watch me on Robius_TV, ROBIUS _TV. I will race. I don't know what I'm going to race yet, but it might be a bit of a surprise.
A bit of fun, no doubt, as well, mate. And of course, you can catch me on similarly on Twitch at Top Split TV, doing a bit of racing this week, looking maybe to get out in the skips, but certainly for Friday night Race Club, and of course there's a big one this week. I'll tell you what, I've posted up the last week's Bathurst 200, which was an amazing race in the GT3s, but this week, quite another thing altogether. We've got the Bathurst 500 teams event in the Cadillacs, or the Mustangs, I should say. Should be a fantastic event. Check that out on Saturday night, starting around 7 p.m. Australian Eastern Time. But of course, the big one here next week, don't forget to catch the final round of Monday Night Lights for season 13. We've made 13 seasons of this fantastic event. Make sure you come and check the final round to see who takes the top of the pops. I didn't put up the scores. This is how they stood coming into this race. Bill Fraser, of course, drop rounds in play. Ben Snell, who's got a 0-point rate. You know what? I reckon Ben Snell might have even jumped to the lead after this result. That's going to be a great final round to see how that shakes out, folks. Really tight in the top 5 there, or of the top of the pops overall. So great action ahead of us next week coming from Zandvoort. Make sure you come and join us here. Same bat time, same bat channel. But for this week, folks, I've been your host, Alex McKellar, and on behalf of the Golden Stig, Mr. Timmer Weimer, I thank you all for joining us. It's been great to have the interactivity in the chat as well, and we look forward to your company this time next week for the final instalment, Season 13 of Monday Night Lights. And until then, I will say ciao for now.